again for another roundtable discussion with Phenom Hoops. And today we're going to be talking about the North Carolina Top 80. This is the most prestigious exposure camp in North Carolina. This is our, this will be our 6th year running the camp. 2014 was the first year. And it's been a who's who of North Carolina basketball, the Hoop State basketball coming through. For this conversation, I'm here with Jeff Bendel, Rick Lewis, got myself, Jamie Shaw, on the camp. Rick, in starting the camp and doing it, kind of what went behind starting the camp, and what have your thoughts been into what it's grown into?
Well, it was really based on timing. At the time, we had Dave Tellett ran the Carolina Challenge, and that was the elite showcase for the top players in the state. And when Dave got the opportunity to be an NBA scout for the San Antonio Spurs, there was a vacancy, and we decided to try to emulate what he had to some degree, and not take the name the Carolina Challenge, but call it the North Carolina Top 80.
Yeah. And then Jeff, obviously, I guess you weren't in on the initial parts of it, but seeing what the Top 80 has become for North Carolina basketball, what it means to North Carolina basketball, the showcase that it provides and the platform it provides, and kind of coming in now this past couple of years into, organizing it. First seeing it on the outside, then being an organizer of it, kind of, what are your thoughts on the Top 80, and what's it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I first was a bystander before I got involved. I remember working at Prolific, just working for Steve, helping him out, and then I ended up seeing one of you guys is having the camp the first time y'all had it at Prolific. And
guys got it? So I hard work on 3, sprint to the next spot. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hard work. Sprint to the next spot. Don't walk. Get there.
And I ended up seeing, one of you guys is having the camp the first time y'all had it at Prolific. And I remember just being tantalized. It was amazing. Just from a basketball savant, somebody that enjoys basketball so much. It was like I've described it many times. It's like Christmas in March. It really is. It's unlike anything you can describe, just because there's such a rare time where, one, you get that much talent in the gym, and two, all at once. I mean, I think that was really the thing, is it's like, we know all these guys, and that's the big thing. It's like, when are we going to get to see the kid from Carmel play the kid from Burlington School? Never. But this gives us an opportunity, and I feel like every year since, it's just blown the expectations out of the water. Every year, just one-upping what we had the year before, and I think this year, has a chance to be the best one we've ever had.
Yeah, I guess initially putting it together, Rick and I talked, we didn't know who would come, and not only did we not know who would come, we didn't know how hard they would play, and all that kind of stuff, because, it's a camp now that, everybody's got kind of a camp going these days, and the prestige of the Top 80 has truly preceded itself, because we started off in year one. We had the likes of Chris Clemons, who's the nation's leading scorer now, Matt Morgan, who's the all-time leading Ivy League, Grant Williams, who's the SEC Player of the Year, Dennis Smith, who's in the pros now, and the list goes on of players that we had in that very first one that we were able to get into the gym, and they all came and competed. I'll never forget that Balls Life video that Donnie Bowie and Webb Wellman made of the highlights of that play. That included Quay Parker and Rajon Tucker and Dennis and Demetrius Troy, who's a starting point guard at UNCG now. And the incredible plays that they were making in that. And then that kind of built it. The next year it came in, people started expecting it, and people started getting excited about it. And then next year, then, finally this past year, we're able to get the majority of top guys to come in, and they're coming in to compete. Rick's got a great story about Jaden Gardner, who's a freshman at East Carolina now, about him coming into play in the Top 80, about how much it actually meant to him to compete in it.
Well, Jaden came to the game in the very first game. He got an elbow to the eye and had to leave to go get stitches. I think he had like 10 or 12 stitches. And lo and behold, the last game of the day, he showed up, he wanted to play. Yeah. So that tells you something about him as a person, as a player. And then if you look at that character trait carries on to how he's playing at East Carolina. He's 6'6", 6'7", undersized power forward, but putting up tremendous numbers for East Carolina. And without a doubt, their best player this year as a freshman. But there's also stories like last year that's pretty impressive too, which sticks in my mind was Matt Smith and A.J. McKee. Both of them played on Independence for the state championship the night before. And they had the last game, which I think started at 9 o'clock. And Coach Preston Davis said they didn't get home till like 2 o'clock in the morning. And they showed up the next day at the NC Top 80 camp that speaks volume.
Yeah. And the previous year, the same thing. Tyler May did the same thing with Farmville Central.
Right.
They won it the previous day, and then he shows up the next day. One of the first ones there for the drills and skills and all that kind of stuff.
Matter of fact, you're right. Tyler May had the last game too. He was the first player at camp that next day.
Yeah. You know, so this event means something, especially for the smaller towns, the kids, to get this opportunity to play against the big name kids. I mean, you have 1A guys from the West playing against 4A guys from the East. You have private school, public school, all the matchups. You know, the mountains playing against the beach. All the matchups that everybody wants to see of all the players that everybody talks about throughout. You know, under one roof, competing against one another, and then they have the matchups that everybody kind of wants to see. You know, like I know last year we had Devon Dotson and Kobe White playing against one another. Both of them wanted to come. Both of them national level guys. Both of them already committed. One going to UNC, who's currently a freshman at UNC, looking to be a one and done. One to Kansas, who's starting for a top 5 team in the country and looking to possibly be a one and done as well. Yet they both come to the top 80 to compete against one another because it means something to them to be seen on that platform in front of everybody. A who's who in the state of North Carolina, a who's who in the state of national recruiting. Watching that game.
I think too, the other point too, is you got players like whether it was Grant Williams or Devon Dotson, Kobe White, Dennis Smith. Some of those guys really didn't have to come.
No.
But I think they did it because they wanted to get back to the community, to the state, and I think that's the thing that's also sticks in my mind, that you got the high-profile kids that will come back and say, I want to participate because I want to give back to the state.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's also something too, is that I think a lot of those guys, and a reason why they're so good is because they want to compete. They realize that, even Grant Williams came out in the same class that had Dennis, Harry, Bam, Deshaun Corprew, all those top 100 guys in the class, top 10 guys too. And he knew he was as good as those guys. I don't know that anybody else did. He wanted to come in and compete. Devon Dotson and Kobe White, they had this ongoing tussle throughout high school as to who the best player was. And they didn't care. I mean, they're going out playing the Dix Nationals, Kobe's winning, playing the state championships, all that kind of stuff. But they want to come in and compete. They want to show that they're the biggest, baddest on the block. Yeah. And I think that's the reason, a testament as to why they're so good. Because they do care about that stuff. They do care about competing and winning their matchups. Jeff, what's some stuff that's kind of stuck out to you?
I mean, over the years, I think personally, for me, it's always been a chance to see these guys in a different setting. I mean, we kind of spoke about the matchups and how we get to see point guard A versus point guard B, and who's going to outplay who type of thing. But I remember seeing Carter Witt as a freshman, or as an 8th grader actually. Incredible experience. Carson McCorkle, same thing, freshman. Yeah. All these guys at their first stages, that's my favorite part personally, is seeing this little scrawny Carter Witt get pushed around a little bit, and see him struggle, and me holding on to every individual play that he's making, every read he's making, and I mean that was kind of something that I always felt was very fun, is seeing the guys before they're big, before they're huge. Obviously guys are there, they see Kobe and Devon go against each other, but people just don't really understand just how much talent is under this gym, because everybody's looking at the senior class and the 2019s and stuff, but really seeing these guys, the 2022s and the 2021s and the freshmen and sophomores at the time, those are the guys that always seem to impress.
Yeah. So I guess moving into this, we're about to start sending out invitations next week to the top 80. We'll be getting them to the high school coaches. Even by the time this shows, I'm not sure exactly which day we're going to put this out, so the invitations might have already started going out. But looking at the overall breadth of the classes and who all is available to come that we're inviting, what are some matchups and some storylines, Rick, that you are looking forward to seeing, and who and what and to play out?
I would say I would like to see all the battles with the 2020 class. The 2021 class is one that we just did. It's so balanced.
Yeah, sure.
We stated religiously that probably 1 through 15 there's not a lot of difference. I think the thing that I'm looking forward is like to see all those guys there compete, and then let them prove it on the court. Who's really the best? Yeah. That's the great thing about it. I remember, a long time ago when Dave Tellep had the event, and I remember him calling me up one time, and that's when Tyler was, going to the event, and he called me up. He goes, I'm going to put them up against the 3 best players. And I said, that's great. That's what I want to see. And I think that's the thing that every one of these kids, they should want to play against their fellow players in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
They want to play against the best. That's what makes them really special. Is playing and say, hey, I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to show that I'm better than you. You know, that's the fun part.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think this kind of goes back to the Instagram Live you and Miles did the other night with Bobby Pettiford and Elijah Dontrez. I think their camaraderie and their kind of competitive spirit towards one another is going to be amazing. I think that's the type of stuff that fuels these things. I mean, my number 1 on this list is Elijah versus Bobby Pettiford. I think the guys are that's a match made in heaven. I mean, those 2 guys are friends, but also are not going to let the other get one up on them. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. Another one, I have Jaden Michael, who was my personal number 1 for our rankings, against both Jalen McDonald and Dontrez Styles. I just think, size on size, I think Jaden's the most complete player in their class right now. So, I mean, I'd love to see him go against guys that have high ceilings, high prospects like that. And then, I mean, I just wrote down all of the point guards, I think, in that tier 1 that we could say. I mean, Breon Pass, Bobby Pettiford, Cam Hayes, Elijah Jameson, Brock Williams is on there, Jaquante Harris even, and KJ.
Cam Hayes.
Yeah, Cam Hayes.
AJ Smith.
And AJ Smith, of course. And so, I mean, that's what Carter Witt. Look at that. I mean, that's literally 10, 9, 10 guys right there that are.
I did the same thing you did. I think that 2021 class. We talked about how when we did the rankings that there was a class of about 15 kids there that all could have viable options as number 1. Yeah. Typically, you go through tiers where it's like 3 and then a decided 3 and then another thing after that. There's literally 15 guys that were in the conversation for number 1. So for that 2021 class, I think it's going to be very interesting to see the point guards play against each other, because also those same 15 guys are all, most of the part, the same position, guards. It's so strong there. I think seeing Carson McCorkle, Jalen McDonald, Jaden Michael, Red Dunton, Dontrez Styles go up against one another, I think will be very good, very deciding. I think also seeing Carter Witt, Bobby Pettiford, Cam Hayes, AJ Smith, Elijah Jameson, Brock Williams, I think seeing all those guys go up against each other, I think that could be very interesting to the overall feel of the class, because some of these guys have recruitment, some of them don't, some of them are still underrated, but all of them like to compete, and that's going to be very interesting to see them come in and do that. But also, a couple of more specific matchups for me that I'm looking forward to is in the 2020 class. I think Josh Hall versus Jaden Seymour for me is going to be very interesting. They're both kind of right there on that top 100 type of cusp as players. Both of them are the 6'8" playmaking kind of wings that have offensive and defensive versatility. So I'm going to be interested to see them go head-to-head, and I'm also interested to see if guys like Caleb Scott or Silas Mason can creep themselves into that conversation with those 2 guys, kind of in that range of 6'8" playmaking wing, 6'7" playmaking wing. I'm eager to see if, Josh Hall and Jaden Seymour right now are kind of at a step ahead. I want to see them go head-to-head. But I also want to see if Caleb Scott and Silas Mason can kind of, create themselves into that same conversation, because they're right there on the cusp of getting there as well.
And we just did the 2022 watch list.
Yeah.
So how about the matchup of Jaden Bradley versus Jaden Hood-Shafino?
No question. And then throwing MJ Rice in that too, and seeing all 3 of those guys kind of go, I don't know of any time they've actually gone head-to-head against one another. They've all been in the same location and everything. I'd like to see actually those 3 line up on either side of the ball and guard each other, and
Yeah, it's amazing that you have Jaden Bradley from Concord and Shafino from Charlotte basically so close together, and I don't think I've ever seen them play. Bradley plays for what, Team Mays?
Yeah, B Mays out of Tennessee,
and then Team Charlotte for Shafino.
He's playing up.
So
I think that could be a very interesting matchup to see how they line up across the floor from one another and how they compete.
Yeah, another couple ones. I mean, out of that 2020 class, I mean, you mentioned Hall and Seymour. We saw that, with their teams in South Carolina, and I mean, I'm not gonna mince words, but Josh Hall, took it to him. So I mean, this is time for Jaden Seymour to get back, and also, like we kind of said, this is time for the guys that kind of might have slipped up on the first attempts to get back and prove themselves against these guys. Dean Reber is a guy we talked about a lot, a guy that I know I see a lot and we all personally like. I'd be really interested to see how he competes against these other, top tier guys. I mean, if Dayron's there and if guys like that, I want to see him go straight at those guys.
Yeah.
Because he kind of has a reputation for being, somewhat passive, but I mean, he's as talented as any big man in the class. And then I think, Jawan Carr, Justin Wright, Christian Hampton, and Shakeel Moore, that foursome of guards is just...
I had that circled right here, too. That was going to be one I brought up.
I mean, those guys are so close together, and they all have top 10 level talent. It's just who's going to separate them. I mean, it'd be great to see all these matchups. I know Shakeel Moore and Christian Hampton specifically both those guys joining up on CB3. I would love to see them go head to head.
Well, the interesting thing with them too is Christian Hampton just picked up his first offer with App State.
Yeah.
You have Justin Wright, who just picked up a High Point offer. You already had Rice in East Carolina, and then you have Shakeel Moore, who has Providence offer. I think East Carolina and a couple others.
Sure.
Jawan Carr is kind of the 1A public school guy stuck down in Burgall, North Carolina.
Might be underrated right now.
Yeah, he was a top 80 kid last year, but he has a lot of name to make there. I think it's interesting that all these other kids have all these offers and everything, and Jawan Carr's mentioned in the same breath of them. And I think it might be interesting too that Jawan Carr might be the best of the lot. In there, but that's what the top 80 is for. These guys will be going up against each other. They're the same tier of player. Yeah. I also think it's going to be very interesting because the 2020 class has a handful of true fives, which you don't necessarily see a lot anymore. I think having the Francisco Bora, Justice Ajbar, and Javarzi Belton, I think those three throwback fives, true positional size, true positional length, girth, low post.
Play like fives.
Yeah, low post game that you don't really see anymore. I think it'd be interesting to have all of them, battling against one another, see how that kind of matchups go. Yeah. Because in all this day of fluidity and mobile bigs and all this kind of stuff. These are big, girthy, 250-pound, 6'10", 7-foot guys who throw their weight around. So I think that's going to be an interesting look to see. And also it's going to be interesting too to see how guards play with those guys. Yeah. Because this is coming into a top 80 type of situation where these guys aren't necessarily familiar with them. It'll be interesting to see how these guards adjust to playing with true low post fives, which they're going to have to at the next level.
Sure. Well, the other thing too is the guys that feel like they're under the radar or under-recruited or underranked compared to other guys, it gives them motivation. If they're not in the top 10, they're in that 11 through 20 range, they're going to want to play against the guys who are ranked in front of them. Yep. And they have something to prove. And that's really fun to watch, to see who competes and at the end of the day, who got the better of the deal.
Yeah. Who do you think could be a breakout player in this year's NC Top 80? I know we didn't talk about this beforehand. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. Rick, go ahead and get your thoughts together because I want to ask you next. But who do you think a breakout player could be for this?
I'll go one for each class. I think I've already spoken about both of them. I would say for 2020, I'm just gonna play it safe and say Christian Hampton. I just think he's really starting to get into that next tier of his development, his recruitment overall.
Have we had a roundtable podcast where Jeff hasn't mentioned Christian Hampton yet? I'm not sure if we have.
I echo and dovetail his sentiments on Chris. I'm a Chris Hampton fan too.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy just simply gets it done. As far as 2021 goes, I would, I'm gonna say Jaden Michael. I'm gonna back my guy. I like him a lot. I really do. I do think he's the most complete player in the class right now. I think he's gonna prove that. I think that's really why I'm confident in him. There's nothing he can't do on the court.
Yeah. What about you, Rick? Who do you think the big breakout could be this year?
Just depends on who shows up.
Yeah.
Depends on who shows up.
Yeah.
That's a hard question. I think the great thing about us is in the state of North Carolina, there is so much talent. Just think about this. When we do the rankings in 2019, there's 60 plus D1 kids. So if you're thinking about taking the top 80 kids on each class, the wealth of talent is immense.
Well, that's 60 players that are going D1. There's also probably another 20 or 30 that got recruited at the D1 level that for whatever reason, either had to go JUCO or went D2 or for a better option. I mean, that's legitimately 80 or 90 guys that got legitimately recruited at the Division I level per class.
If you look at the 2018 rankings, we had over 100 players that either played at the D1 level or the D2 level.
Yeah.
100.
Earned scholarship money, which is hard to come by. That's what, only 3% of players or something like that?
Exactly.
Get scholarships. That's incredible. 3 players that I think could break out that I'm really looking forward to. Jalen Gibson Jawan Carr, and Kenai Briggs. I think all three of those guys could have opportunities here to really make a name for themselves at the highest level of guys that aren't necessarily being talked about yet, but could be talked about kind of at that upper tier level after this top 80. But regardless of the fact, we're ridiculously excited about the event. As Jeff said, it's like Christmas in March. It's almost sensory overload. You know, we have all the people, all the mixtape groups, all the camera people that come to it. All the national entities come to it. All the local entities come to it. You have all the rivals, 247, Scout, ESPN. Then you have all the local channels like NC State one. You have the Wake Forest one. You have all of it. So everybody's
Carolina.
yeah. Everybody's there. Every single person's there. If you play well there, it has been proven that you'll, take a step to the next level. Not only that.
Almost too much time, honestly. I mean, you want to see all the courts. It's like, but I don't want to leave where I'm at. I'm watching such a great game.
Well, and then also the state of South Carolina, or state of North Carolina, has really shown that they've taken a liking to it too. Because Prolific Park's not the most spacious place to watch a game at, and you have 3 courts going with the best players of the best in there watching. It gets kind of crowded. We have people surrounding the court 4 rows deep watching.
Room only between the courts. Everything.
Yeah, crowded. We have people surrounding the court 4 rows deep watching.
Room only between the courts. Everything.
Yeah, it's an incredible atmosphere of basketball, and it's over like that. You spend months getting ready for it, and all of a sudden it happens. You blink your eye, and it's done.
Well, the most difficult part is narrowing it down and trying to figure out who deserves the invites.
Yeah.
Because if you think the rankings are difficult, wait till we send out the invites for the top 80.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And those should be coming this next week. It's on March 10th. It's going to be at Prolific Park in Greensboro, North Carolina. If you're listening to this, it's a must-watch event. Are we live streaming it this year?
Yes.
Yeah, so college coaches, we got you involved too. Baller TV will be in there live streaming the event. But also, make sure you show up. The atmosphere and the environment, if you're within driving distance or know somebody who's playing in it, the environment had in this event is like no other. The buzz surrounding it, the kind of adrenaline rush that you get watching the event is like no other.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being there, seeing it live in person.
It's
100%.
not.
Up close.
It's not. It's not. And it's almost like you get to see these kids breaking out. You get to see these kids compete. You get to go back and tell. We're telling stories now of 2014. Now Chris Clemons is the leading scorer in Division I basketball. We're still talking about when he and Matt Morgan, who's the Ivy League's all-time leading scorer, went up against each other in the 2014 North Carolina Top 80. At that point in time, not many people were talking about it. We were, because obviously we put the matchup together. But not many people were talking about it. And all of a sudden we're sitting there saying, hey, you remember when that happened? So those stories that we put on the event, we see these players every year, we still get excited about. You bring your kid to it, you bring your 10-year-old, you bring your son or daughter to it who plays basketball, you come to it and tell all your buddies Monday morning water cooler about the players.
It's like watching a game on TV. You really don't appreciate the athleticism and the skill set until you see them up close, in person,
and the size.
Until you see Shakeel Moore do a double
when you're
pump.
sitting there courtside, and the thing about it is a player like Dennis Smith, who's now in the NBA, just think about the guys who was able to see him 5 feet in front of you, watch him do the dunks and do the dribbles and the shooting and all that kind of stuff. That's the great thing about it, is you can see them up close, see them live, and see what they can do.
And for anything else, I think it's worth showing up to stand beside Javarzeh Belton and to see how absolutely large, how chiseled from granite Javarzeh Belton actually is.
Well, he wants to match up with your guy.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what?
We welcome it.
Yeah, they're going
to happen.
They're going to come, because I remember when I first saw Javarzeh Belton in South Carolina. He was
an unknown commodity.
And now all of a sudden to see what he's come to now,
it's prospect getting offers every year.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to see that progression.
Well, the thing is, you look at someone with that size, but he has as big as heart as he does his frame, because he really wants to be better.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of pride and he works really hard, and I think that's really great to see.
He's a natural leader.
Great guy.
So no, the top 80 is the premier event in North Carolina. It's the premier exposure camp in the state, and it's a nationally recognized event that people come through all over the country. Jeff, Rick, anything else?
That's it.
Good. Guys, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Phenom Hoop Report. the YouTube channel. Make sure you comment. Who do you think should be invited? We want to hear. We want to hear from you. Who do you think should be invited? What matchups do you want to see as the listener? We want this to be interactive. Please make sure that you leave comments. Please make sure that you send us messages to what you want to hear us talk about. Make sure you follow us on our social media outlets, Phenom_Hoops on Instagram, Phenom_Hoops on Twitter. For Jeff Bendel, for Rick Lewis, I'm Jamie Shaw. Thank you guys very much.